is this whole sleep thing that people talk about? So this morning, I didn't see this coming, and it's not a matter of me saying, "Oh, I didn't think his job was in trouble," because certainly Todd McLellan somehow escaped being fired last offseason after a very disappointing season that the Edmonton Oilers suffered through in 2017-2018. The oddest part to me is that Ken Hitchcock is replacing McLellan as the head coach, because I thought he retired. So the Oilers started the season 8-4-1, but have lost 6 of their past 7. McLellan joined the Oilers after 7 seasons behind the bench for the Sharks. As a player, McLellan played in 5 games with the Islanders during the 87-88 season. Hitchcock spent last season as coach, and then he was let go after 1 season with the team. But I thought he was retired. Hitchcock has 823 wins as a coach. For the Stars, the Flyers, the Blue Jackets, and the Blues. And that is the 4th coach that's been fired already this year, after the Kings, the Blackhawks, and the Blues fired theirs. 4 coaches already. 4. Last year we had none all season. 0 all season. He's and Hitchcock's 5th in all-time games counted. You know what this kind of feels like to me is when the Oilers went out and hired Pat Quinn. That Pat Quinn was a name, and they felt that this was going to help them turn things around. And it kind of sort of did, and then it kind of sort of didn't, and then Quinn ends up being out as coach. And I don't know. I'm honestly kind of baffled at the hiring of Ken Hitchcock here. As much as I'm happily surprised that they finally pulled the trigger on McLellan. Usually what we've been seeing this year is that assistant coaches get promoted to sit as interim. But interim's the title you give them until you decide whether or not you're going to give them the job full time. And then the other option is your American Hockey League coach in some cases. Usually if it's an AHL coach, it'll be at the end of the year. So Hitchcock isn't the kind of coach who's going to come in just as a stopgap. He's not going to take a brand new job just as a stopgap. So part of what I'm wondering then too is, does this mean that the firing isn't just going to be McLellan? Is Ken Hitchcock going to go to Peter Chiarelli and say, these are the guys who I want for assistants? Because very often when you replace the head coach, you replace a lot of the coaching staff because they have a certain amount of synergy, or they don't. And if Hitchcock doesn't feel like the assistants are people he's going to work really, really well with, he may very well have a list. I'll be interested to see what happens. Maybe Hitchcock at this stage of his career just says, you know what, I'll work with what I get, and I'll make it work. And I'll be very interested to see what he does. So, happy Thanksgiving, Todd McLellan. I think McLellan's a decent coach. I will say I don't think that of the guys who've been fired, Quenneville's going to get another job. I don't know that Stevens does as a head coach. Okay, they'll get jobs, just not necessarily as a head coach. I think Quenneville will because of his record. I don't know that Mike Yeo does, but I do think Todd McLellan eventually will. And I don't know how long down the road it'll be, but I think Todd McLellan will get another job as a head coach. He was solid in San Jose as a head coach. And a couple years ago in Edmonton, he helped get the most out of them. And he just hasn't been able to recreate that magic over the last season and a quarter. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because again, Hitchcock, he's been a coach for a ton of games, and I'm going to be interested to see how Edmonton does with him as coach. Very, very interested to see how Edmonton does with him as coach. He's got a Stanley Cup on his resume. It's from 1999, but it's a Stanley Cup. And Dallas was a team that definitely had a little more depth than what Edmonton has right now. But yeah, so sleep, don't need it, not important. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. I know there's a lot of Oiler fans right now that are like, finally, it's finally happened. But How do you feel about Ken Hitchcock as the new coach? And for fans outside around the rest of the NHL, how do you guys feel about replacing McLellan with Hitchcock? I don't know if it's going to work. I'm going to be completely brutally honest. I don't know if it's going to work. But a lot of that may very well be the Dallas Stars fan in me that watched a year of Ken Hitchcock as coach in Dallas. And in the end, it just didn't work. They tried recreating that magic, and it just didn't work. So maybe with Hitchcock going to a brand new team, a brand new situation, maybe that'll be different. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens now, because are there other coaches? I know Philadelphia fans are like, can we please see something happen with Hackstall? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Unless Joel Quenneville goes to Ron Hextall and makes an incredible pitch and says, I want to be your coach here. I don't know that a whole lot's going to happen with Hackstall either. But if you told me yesterday that McLellan was going to get fired this morning, I would have said, well, he probably should, but he probably won't be. So is this heat being turned up on Chiarelli, or is ownership turning up the heat on Chiarelli, or is Chiarelli himself looking at where the Oilers are and saying, geez, this has to get better or else I'm going to be out too? Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.